feel free to either have your camera on or off. This practice is going to be roughly 25 minutes, and we will do about 5 different activities during the practice. And what I suggest for you is to give yourself this 25 minutes of practice time, if you can, to put your phone in do not disturb or turn your notifications off. You don't have to do that, of course, if you have an emergency. But I just suggest for you to take this time for yourself to just practice, get in your own body, and really observe your own sensations and emotions and whatever comes up. So if you can do that, I have no slides. This will all be cued with an audio, so sometimes you'll want to close your eyes so you can really sense into your own somatic process. So the soma is a mind and body all together, all integrated. So that is a part of my confidence practice. And so I think of confidence as a practice. So let's get into the meat of what I'm going to teach today. So general confidence is just an attitude, a way we approach the world. But self-confidence is more specifically that sense that you can master something, you can master new things, you can trust yourself that you can meet new challenges in your life. And the confidence that we get from mastering those skills is kind of contagious, so we can spread it to other areas of our life. However, there's some domain-specific confidence that you may have. Maybe you're an expert in your field, and so you're very confident about that topic, but you struggle with something else like public speaking or writing blog posts or writing, in a sense. We all have different domains in which we feel confident. Most of us feel confident that if we're going to drink a glass of water, we have confidence that we can get that water into our mouth and swallow it. It's something we learn as we're young. And then there are areas where we want to build that confidence. And my theory is that really confidence is an embodied process. So what I mean by that is it doesn't come from mental energy. It doesn't come from more and more thinking. In fact, that sometimes gets in the way of our confidence. So I don't know if any of you out there may relate to the idea of being an overthinker. I definitely suffer from a little bit of that, but I've found that when I really get myself into my body and I get myself back into sort of my heart and my, my overall soma, I lose that anxiety, I lose the overthinking, I lose that spinning mind that can sometimes interfere with our confidence. So what I'm planning to teach you today is just a few little postures and movements that will help you if you struggle with self-confidence. And I think all of us could use a little bit more of it in this day and age. We're interviewing, we're doing new things, we're bravely stepping out, we're maybe becoming activists in anti-racism, whatever it is, we can use more confidence. And so I'd like to start today by just asking you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. I'm going to start seated just for a moment, and if you're standing, that's fine too. And we're just going to do a little breath awareness practice to start. So I want you to, if you're seated, make sure that your knees, your feet, and your hips are kind of at a 90-degree angle. So you may have to scoot away from the back of your chair if you're sitting down. Just feel very comfortable here. Rest down. What I like to do is place my hand, one hand at the belly, one hand on my chest. And then just take a few breaths to notice your breath and notice the natural movements of your body as your breath comes in and out. Through your nose, preferably. Just notice the depth and quality of your breath at this moment. So is it deep, shallow? Is it smooth or is it a little jagged? Does it have a color? Does it have a texture? No wrong answers here, just observing our body, observing our breath, getting ourselves into the spirit of practice here. And all of this is a practice. So it's something that the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you tune in to your somatics, the easier it will be to notice something's a little off kilter, off balance. Take a couple more breaths here. Just doing a little mental snapshot, a little check-in where we are at the beginning of this practice. And we'll come back to this at the end of the practice as well. And notice how we feel. So you might check in with, are there any tight spots in your body? Are there any places that feel particularly good, relaxed? Do a little bit of a body scan. You can let your hands drop to the side. I'm going to do this next pose for the shoulders in a standing position. So I encourage you to do that if you would like to. If not, you can also do it seated. I'm going to move my camera here so I can stand up. So this first thing we're going to do again, we're going to do another breath awareness practice. And so now that we're standing, we may notice some different qualities of the breath. And you can do this either with eyes open or eyes closed. I have my desk chair close by. If you have any balance issues, keep your eyes open or just in a soft gaze. Or if you want to close your eyes, you can do that as well. And just bringing your hand to your belly, other hand to the chest. Notice what is moving here. Notice which parts come out. And notice and sense that the shape of your body has changed. You might find a little bit more openness as you breathe in a standing posture. And you may hear my cat Calvin, who now thinks that it's time for him to start singing. So, okay, now that we've got that breath awareness, we know a little bit of how that felt different from sitting. So that is lesson number one. If you're sitting at a desk for too long, you might want to just stand up and get your breath moving, because that is really going to bring your whole kind of sensory motor cortex into alignment, and that column of your spine becomes a little bit more relaxed. So good to do that now and then during the day. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to learn a little bit about this sensory motor piece. So I'm going to use your shoulders for this, because we tend to, if we're holding any stress or tension, we tend to kind of build it up in our shoulders and our upper or lower back. And so I like this one because you can just bring your fingertips to your shoulders, kind of give yourself a little proprioception here, using your hands to wake up those muscles. We're going to very gradually bring our shoulders toward our ears. And so just tensing very lightly. And then we're going to release extremely slowly. So we're going to just bring our shoulders down very, very slowly, as slowly as you can manage it. And notice any little jagged parts, any little places that don't feel smooth. And then when you get all the way down, just relax your hands and your arms down. Just let those come down. We're going to do this a couple more times, just bringing those shoulders up toward the ears. You don't have to scrunch them really far, just as far as you kind of really go into that tension just a tiny bit. And really, really slowly let it out. Just notice if you feel any little jagged parts. I feel kind of a little trembling almost when I come down sometimes. If I haven't been doing my somatics as regularly, I can feel it especially. And so what we're doing here is we're programming our sensory motor cortex and our muscles to work together. And that may seem kind of obvious. You may be like, well, aren't they always working together? But we actually forget sometimes how to relax our muscles. So that is what somatics helps us do, is just relax in anything that's chronically contracted. So let's do that one more time, just bringing the shoulders up toward the ears. And really, really slowly as you can manage it. Typically, this is on an exhale. Yeah, I'm feeling just a little trembling there, even though I did a practice earlier today. So this is kind of where we hold the tension. And just really relax down. If you want, if you're standing up, you can just shake your body out, just kind of let yourself fall down. Most of us have postures that have either a red light reflex, which is kind of a crunched in position, or a green light reflex, where we're on the go all the time and we're kind of contracted out. And those reflex patterns can become habitual, and really tension kind of builds up in our body. And sometimes it can be hard to release that unless we really are mindful of it. So the next movement I want to teach is some side body releases. And so we often think of our body as a front and a back, and we kind of forget about our side bodies a little bit. So this is a place where I gather a little tension, and I imagine you might as well, that we kind of forget. And so this will be, you may not be able to see my feet in this case, but what I'd like you to do is take one of your hands and just find with your thumb the top of your hip. So that hip bone, find where that hip bone is. Take your other hand and just put it underneath your armpit so you kind of feel that muscle in there at the top of your torso. So what we're going to do is just allow our heel to come up, and we're going to slightly hike up that hip. We're going to bring that muscle in the top down toward each other like we're making a little C curve. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to really gradually lengthen it, very gradually, slowly, slowly. Just notice if any little trembling parts or anything that is not smooth. Sometimes you think, well, the goal is to have it to be smooth, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to notice. So the noticing is what brings everything into alignment. So let's do that another time or two. Bringing that hip up toward and that upper part down. And then we're going to lengthen it out really gradually, slowly, slowly. And completely relaxing when you come down. I sometimes forget to take a breath or two in between. We don't want to carry the tension over. That's the other part. And so let's do that one more time. And you may be noticing already that something feels different. So let it go really slowly. You might notice a little tension in your calf too, coming out. That's totally fine. Just notice. And then I want you to take and just shake everything out. And if you're able to, or if you need a chair for support, just take a moment to close your eyes and notice if you feel different on one side versus the other. Maybe a sense of warmth, maybe a sense of circulation and flow, and maybe not. You might not notice anything. That's totally fine too. We do a lot of things during our day that are sided. So we have our mouse, we have the driving that we do on one side, and so we tend to have like slightly different lengths for each side. So we're going to take that on the other side. And so we're taking that thumb and just finding the top of your hip, and then just using the other hand. I like to just use my sensation there to kind of wake up those connections. It really helps the brain kind of, okay, where are we? So bringing that up, making kind of a C curve little shape, and you're bringing your heel off the floor and leaving your toe on. And then really gradually just release that. Notice any shaky parts. I didn't notice as many on this side. Bring a little curiosity to this movement. So opening up. And then be sure to take a little break in between, and then do it a third time. The other thing to notice about these somatic movements is that you really don't have to do very many of them to wake up that sensory motor cortex. So you could do 3 or 4 of these and you're already reprogramming that sensory motor system. So the idea is not to do a huge number of reps, because that really, you'll actually overdo it. This is hard work for your brain, actually. It is work in order to connect these things. And so the point is not to do 100 reps. The point is to do a few reps really slowly, really mindfully. And that will help you find ways to relax any tension in the body. So the next couple I'd like to show you are power poses. And so some of you may be familiar with Amy Cuddy's work. She talks about power posing. And there's a couple that I like, and there's a couple I don't like as much. And so bring an attitude of curiosity to your body. So she tends to do the Superwoman pose with your legs kind of out in an angle, not a huge angle, but just wider. and bringing your arms wider. So you're kind of like a starfish. We call this starfish in yoga. Not everyone likes the feeling of this, but it can be uncomfortable. It can be unfamiliar. However, she argues that if you hold this for a couple minutes before a job interview, you actually get a surge of testosterone, even women, and it lowers your cortisol, so it makes you confident when you're about to do something. I don't always like this. Sometimes I just like a mountain pose where my arms are out in a receptive position, and I'm just standing with my chest open, not excessively open. You don't want to come way back, just in a relaxed way, but just so you feel everything kind of open up in your body. Take a couple of deep breaths here. So it's just really opening up your whole receptivity. And I like the receptivity piece because I think being confident can mean listening well to the people that you're talking with or the people who you serve. Listening well is also a skill that helps us become more confident and more present. So just taking a couple moments to feel that. And then we're going to take and we're going to shake that out just a little bit. And so I'm going to come back in a moment here. Okay, so the other one I'm going to add, I'm going to toss in here is goddess pose, because this one, if you're feeling a little sluggish and so you're like, I'm not quite, feeling that great, this one can fire up your quads, which can give you a little bit more energy. So just take very much care if you have any knee injuries or anything where you don't want to come down too far. So goddess pose is typically your feet are sort of in a 90-degree angle pointing outward. And I have mine about maybe 12 or 18 inches apart. You maybe come up to 2 feet. It really depends on how tall you are. And we're just going to take a slight little bend in the knees and just allow ourselves to come down. Just making sure that our back is not bowing out. We're just nice, comfortable. And then just taking a couple breaths here. I have my arms up, sort of in a goalpost arms here. I'm taking a couple moments, and you'll notice right away, even if you just come down a tiny bit, and I've only come down a couple inches, that I feel that in my quads. So that's like firing up that energy in your quadriceps, and that can really kind of help you get that surge of energy that you're looking for sometimes. If you're very anxious, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but if you really want to get that kind of fire going, the fire in your belly, or you're just like, I'm going to get this, and you do this a couple of times, and then maybe even alternate it with the starfish. So coming out feeling expansive, like you're going to hug the whole world. You might have a view of that. And then coming down into goddess position for a few seconds. It doesn't have to be long. It's really about feeling that energy flowing through you. And then coming back up. Making sure you haven't put any tension in your shoulders. So coming back down. Yourself a little bit of time, a little bit of time to integrate that posture. So you might be noticing, we're going to come back to our breath again. You might be noticing a little bit more movement in your breath. So you have one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. Notice what's moving now. Notice if anything has changed shape, dimension. Maybe you feel a little bit more freedom. Having released the side bodies, there might have been some tension on one side or the other. And the key is that as your breath is moving, not just in the chest, but all the way down diaphragmatically, that your nervous system is calm, you feel more grounded. So I hope that's what is happening for you at this point. Toward the end here, we're going to come back and do a little bit more seated postures. Just going to take a look at the time here. Oh, yeah, we have plenty of time. Okay, so those are the standing postures that I suggest. Now we're going to do a seated twist, and this is a really nice one to do. It's a vagal nerve stimulation that can really be very nice and very calming, and can be really helpful if you don't have a whole lot of time. Like say you're going into a meeting, so you've got 1 or 2 minutes, so you're like, I need to do something to really feel a little released and feel a little less stressed. And so this one, I'm going to ask if you can go in either direction. I'm going to go to the right, but I think it'll appear to the left for you. So I'm putting my hands together at my heart center, and then I'm just allowing myself to twist with my neck and with my hips to the side. Now, the reason I don't go even further is our tendency is to push ourselves. I don't want you to push yourself. I just want you to go till you feel a little resistance. And then take a couple of breaths here. If you want, you can extend it even further by taking and looking over your shoulder with your neck, and then coming back to center. Taking a breath or two here. You can relax your hands down for a moment if you want. The reason I put my hands here is I don't want to go too far. So in somatics, we want to be very slow and very deliberate with our movements. We never want to push our bodies past where they want to go, because then we activate a stretch reflex and we actually tighten the muscle out of protection. That's not what we want to do. So let's go to the other side just until you feel some resistance, feeling your neck and your hips move. And if you would like to extend that a little bit more, you can look back over your neck. And then we're going to come back to center very gradually. And then we're going to take a look around the room. So we're going to just use our neck and kind of take a little look around the room. Identify at least 3 colors that you see in the room, just to make a mental note of what those are. Just take a breath or two here. Now we're going to come back to some noticing. So I am hoping by now you have gotten a sense of freedom in your body. I'm hoping that your body feels a little relaxed, released. What I feel about confidence is that when you can help your nervous system to feel released, relaxed, and you can really calm down your nervous system at will, no matter what's happening around you, it can be challenging in some circumstances, you really bring a sense of confidence, a sense of groundedness, of focus to what you do. And then you can be more present, you can show up, you can make better decisions in the moment. So let's come back to our seated breath awareness now and just do a little check-in with where you are. So if you'd like to close your eyes, just take a moment. You can either use your hands or just feel. We're going to do just a little miniature body scan here. So notice your seat on the chair, if you're sitting down. Notice the energy that goes all the way down into your legs and feet. And coming back up through your seat, feeling that torso, feeling that breath moving easily in and out. Feeling that sense of expansion and release. Something that we don't need to focus on most of the time. Our breath takes care of itself. When we do focus on it, especially when we're feeling anxious, we may realize that our breathing has moved up into our chest and it's not quite as full as it could be. Just taking 10 seconds, 20 seconds out to put your hand on your belly and notice your breath during the day can really help you tune in. So moving up through your torso into your heart, feeling that strong, steady heartbeat, that rhythm. Moving up further into your throat and into your neck. We didn't get into confident communication. That might be a separate course I can offer. But another little hint before you're going into a presentation is to sing or hum and use your vocal cords, just warming up your vocal cords rather than practicing your speech again. Just sing a favorite song or just do a and just feel that resonance in your throat. So moving up again, little bit more into the middle of the head. Just see if you can sense anything inside. It's that energy column flowing from the top of your head down into your root. Everything is flowing and everything is aligned. You could show up with more presence, more confidence, really accomplish what it is you need to do. So these are just a few short practices. Coming back and opening eyes now, just to thank you for being part of this practice. And if you have to go to your next meeting or you only have a few minutes left, I really thank you for being here today.